There we go. Now I have some face as well. Okay, so we're going to start. Oh, I put the laptop on. This is new, guys. This is new for me here. Okay. Plus, it's like the sign's a little backwards, but that's okay. They'll get prettier and prettier as we go, right? Let's see. Let's put you right here. I'm going to put this like this. But then I can't talk while I'm drawing. This is going to take a little bit of practice. We're going to tuck that there. There we go. You can see me. We got stuff behind me. There we go. Plus I have my books. I can get my books close. There we go. We have a face for the class now. I think that's kind of funny that I forgot. I was just thinking everything through. I got to have the paper. We're going to... Okay. Here is the process. This is what it looks like. So it starts with the perpetrator. Perpetrator being the person that did this routine with you. Could be parents, could be teachers. It's probably a combination of a few people. But they would ask you, they would say, do this. And we're going to just call it A, right? And they would give little to zero instruction. Little to zero instruction. And the instruction that they would give was generally because you requested it. And if you requested it, you were made to feel stupid for requesting information, such as, hey, why don't you do the dishes? Or go outside and mow the lawn. And if you were like, I've never mowed the lawn, or I have trouble with this, they would shame you. They would say, well, seriously, it's such an easy thing. You just pull the lever and you push the button and you just do it. So you walked away with the impression that you should already know how to do it. And then, number 2, you would do it. You would do whatever A was, and you would do it to the best of your ability. Now, then they would want to check the work, and there was usually a little bit of shame in there as well. Oh, you think you did it already? You did it that fast? Well, let's take a look at it. You were given these kind of words. And then they would go to inspect A, Project A. And when they inspected Project A, they would tell you everything that you did wrong with it. So they would rip it to pieces. They would rip it up. They would point out everything you did wrong, all your failures. And at that point, they could get very, very abusive. They could point names. They could call you an idiot. They could, I can't believe this, or what were you thinking, or why would you not even know how to do this? It's such a simple thing. They would shame. They would belittle. And then they would minimize your efforts. And they would very, very often discredit anything you did do. And they would ask you to do it all again. Now, this process would have happened several times. You could have done A 3 or 4 different times, and there was still something not good enough. And eventually, they very often would dismiss the whole project. Jesus, I can't believe you don't know how to do this. Time to stop. Or, wow, never mind. Go away. It's taking more work to have you do it than it would just to do it myself. These kind of things. And those are never useful things. So very often, it would also lead to abandonment. Right? Well, this process taught you a good many things. None of them good and none of them correct. However, living this kind of a process teaches you a few big ones. You learn to believe, 1, life is pass or fail. 2, pass means perfect. 3, perfection is possible and you should know how to do it. So the things that we tend to learn from this kind of a teaching method is, 1, life is pass or fail. And anything short of perfection, it's a failure. And perfection is possible. And you should already know how to do that. If I have to teach anything, then you've already failed. It's an ugly way to learn, right? It's really hard to learn that way. Well, there are some ways to break it, but first we're going to tie it into an analogy to make it a little more clear. And I'm going to use little drawings to do this. So it's kind of like here's a similar analogy. You have a person, okay? You have another person. One's the big... and he's wearing glasses, and he wants you to wear glasses, and he's judging you. So the perpetrator was wearing judgment glasses, and he looked at you through these glasses of pass or fail, you must be perfect, and anything short of perfection is a fail, and you should know how to do it, I shouldn't have to teach you. So these are the glasses that your perpetrator wore. Now, as you got bigger, when you were bigger, your perpetrator made you your own pair of glasses and said, here, wear these. This is how you're going to know what's good and bad in the world. And that was the value system that they handed down. And you were like, fuck that, I'm not going to wear these glasses. But instead of putting them down for good, because we didn't know how to do that, we've never existed in any other light than through those glasses. So we ended up holding them out, kind of like this. And we see ourselves through the glasses 24/7. And we think everybody else looks at us through those glasses. But we refuse to look through these glasses at anybody else. We're not going to do that. So when they tried to hand us glasses, we said no. No way. Instead, we held up the glasses. And we looked at ourselves through them. What a painful way to always look at yourself. When we believe these things, it leads to a past style of thinking. So if you were to view this in like a timeline, you've got now, you've got the future, and here's now, right? Here's the timeline. Here's where we are right now. There's the future and the past. And no matter what, if you are taught something, you instantly look back in the past and wonder why you didn't already know the thing you were just taught. It's an instant feeling of failure. And because of this, no matter what somebody else says to us, it can immediately take us into the past and make us examine where we failed as well, because they had to tell us that. How did we let this person down? And it immediately leads to a fear of abandonment. I like to call this ipso facto, and I know it doesn't actually fit what the real world. I like to refer to this as a feeling of ipso facto. Now, it doesn't fit the scientific actual meaning, but it does when you look at it in iconography. Iconography, that's the word. It doesn't fit the actual scientific meaning, however, it fits in iconography. Let me explain. So, living this way, it's like we have this imaginary box, and it is jam-packed with energies that revolve around pass or fail. I always fail. I never succeed. I wish I could just be there. We think it's just a place that you can arrive, right? And we long for it, but that box is just the wrong box. And we feel like we're in it. Everything in that box is wrong, and somehow that's us. It doesn't even have words. It's kind of like, Lindy, wrong. Everything. Lindy, everything, wrong. It is just a genuine feeling of wrongness. And we live in that space. And it's kind of like it's in a dark, secret little cave that we're stuck in. But we know if we come out of that space, that's how quickly we're going to discover how wrong we actually are, which we already know. We don't want other people to know it. And that's where imposter syndrome comes from. And we'll get into that in other classes. But we're stuck in that box, and we need air, and we can't breathe, and we want out of that box. And it's really tricky. But because we're in that wrong box, that box is based in the past and the present. That box doesn't contain any space for the future. The future can't fit in there. So when we start looking at this, if our partner were to approach us and say, hey, I was thinking maybe we could take a particular vacation this summer, so I was hoping we could discuss the budget and maybe see if we can create some savings towards it. Our brain, we would look at the now, and we'd immediately try and figure out how we failed in the past, or immediately know, right? Because Lindy, wrong. You, wrong. That's exactly how it feels. So we would jump into the past, and we would say, I know the fact that this person even has to tell us that they want something different means we failed in here somewhere. And it's easy to come up with the list of things that we could have failed. That's pretty easy. But then we come back into the now, and since we think they're looking at us through these judgy glasses, and we're looking at ourselves through those glasses and projecting that onto them, we can become very, very, very defensive. Like, dude, I wasn't overspending. And they're like, well, I wasn't saying you are overspending. I'm just saying I want to go on this vacation. And you'd be like, well, yeah, but you don't think I want to go on vacations? It could become quick and easy to get defensive because we don't want to be in that box anymore. And instead of getting out of the box because, well, we didn't know that was an option, and instead of intrinsically knowing our own value, which we don't because that wasn't mirrored to us, we end up getting stuck in this cycle of thinking now means I failed in the past. Right now means I failed in the past. If I'm present, I'm just going to notice the more that I'm failing. And this leads to a state of dissociation as well. When our partner, unbeknownst to us, what our partner meant was, I want this thing in the future. That's what I want. So I'm going to look at the now, and I'm going to find things to change And those are going to be the things that allow me to achieve what I want. They're not looking at the past at all. They're looking at now. They may be using data from the past in order to determine what they want in the future or determine what needs changed in the now. But it's data. It's actually not your love at all. One of the most important things that I do is I differentiate this by creating a love jar. Okay? And this love jar is full of just experiences and joy and love. And this love jar, you can't take from it. The love jar is on a shelf. And talking about the budget has nothing to do with the love jar. Talking about the past has nothing to do with the love jar. Separate those emotions from the conversation so that you can learn to forward think like this. What do I want? And now this is where it can get kind of tricky too, because what do you want? We don't know. The future didn't even exist. It felt like you were in the wrong box and you weren't going to get out of the wrong box. So, and if you've failed in the past so many times, you've ipso factoed, meaning that catalyst event has already happened and there is nothing that can be changed or done. That's what it feels like. So what do? Well, now that you understand a little bit of how we got here, keep watching, wait for the next episode, and we'll be digging into it even deeper. Thank you guys for being part of the Lionheart family here in the Patreon with us. It helps me continue this work and help people heal. Ask any questions in the comments on this lesson that you may have so that I know what could have been missed or what could go over better for you guys. And then I will do little video segments on that as well to help you guys learn them and heal from them. But remember a few things, okay? These lessons are bogus. Life is not pass or fail. It's not. Can you imagine telling your kids that? Hey, if you go on the track field and you're running a race and you fall down, don't worry about getting up because you already failed. There's no point in running that race anymore. That's just not how it is. But that's literally how our bodies feel about us, right? And there are ways to start breaking this pattern. You can do it. I have, and I have found so much more joy in my life than I ever believed was possible. If you relate to this intensely in every way, there's a possibility you were diagnosed with borderline at some point, or it was discussed to you. These massive urges to avoid abandonment, and you can't handle any kind of life lessons because, think about it, learning would be incredibly painful this way. Thank you for joining this little segment. I want you to remember that wrong box doesn't actually exist. It does in energy. It does in your subautonomic system. It doesn't in the actual future. It exists in program, flashbacks, triggers, body, visceral reactions. And they were trained. That is a gift that you were given from people that you do not need to keep. It is a yucky gift. And don't re-gift it either. Let's light it on fire and start these fires for other people. Because remember, breaking the chain is not enough. We got to light fires as well. I love you guys, and I can't wait to teach you more on how to break this. Keep healing.